So another fantastic match at the Cardiff City Stadium. Yet another win. Yawn, top of the league. Wow, that was an easy win, wasn't it? Blimey. Right, we'll quite the reverse. But there we go. Um, Al, just to ask you on this one. For me, I was thinking about this over the weekend. Actually, I think it was one of the most exciting matches I can remember actually seeing. Like a 4-3. You don't see many 4-3s, do you?
Yeah, exciting for the neutral. I was saying
well, that's the thing. If you're neutral, why would you go to a football match?
Yeah, exactly. I was saying before that I think there was a podcast on Apple earlier, and their reporter had been saying that it was the best game he'd been to throughout the leagues all season. Well, that wasn't the game. That wasn't the game that I saw. But yeah, I mean,
it was exciting though. It was exciting, maybe too exciting, and more exciting than it needed to be. Would you say, Al? More exciting than it needed to be, because we just kept on giving them the equaliser, didn't we?
We just didn't look ourselves at the back at all, did we?
No.
Now coming forward, I don't know if they'd worked this out, but coming forward, they look strong. I don't know if they had a really, really, really good day or beforehand. The manager said, he said they were a technically very, very good team, and I think they showed that on the weekend. Credit to them that they brought the game to us.
Yeah, it was. I said to my mate Jeff over the weekend. We were talking about it. He said it was never in question. We always going to get 3 points. I think he was joking, but my response was, we were great going forward, but
yeah, exactly that.
I mean, we can't really keep doing that, Al. Can we? We can't keep being so porous at the back,
Yeah, definitely. It was. I think Pacquiao probably had his worst game for us. That he definitely fought for one of the goals, possibly two. It's difficult with the youngsters. You can't expect them every single week to be playing like world beaters, can you?
No.
They don't have those in the game.
And Gary, good to have you back on the show, by the way.
Cheers, Steve.
I think obviously Rowan and Will, they both went off at half time, and I wondered if it was to do with the way they were playing, but there seems like they were extenuating circumstances, and neither of them were fully fit by the sound of it.
Yeah, I think they said that Kapaki had been ill, hadn't he, a little earlier in the week, and Fish had a bit of a torrid time at Stevenston. He got shoved into the advertising audience. He had a cut over his eye. I think he was a bit battered and bruised, wasn't he, really? So, I think it was the right thing to bring Lawler on, because at 2-2, I think we needed to start passing out from the back, more crisp as well. So I think that, and unfortunately, Rona did have a bad, he should have got near that centre forward when that ball went through for the second goal. He looked like he was jogging back. He didn't get back in quick enough, You got to cut him off there. You allowed him to get the ball down, turn and shoot across goal. He looked really quite sluggish there, really. So I think the one that surprised me was taking Isaac Davis off, because going forward first half he was really good, but they said that was a tactical substitution. So whether they thought he wasn't covering up for Bagan enough, because Bagan, I mean, he had the last laugh. He scored the winner. It was brilliant, wasn't it? I mean, it was great for him to score that goal. It was fantastic. But that right winger, that Molyneux, he ran him. He was
very, very good.
He give him more trouble than anybody has seen, And I think he was, he gave him a tough old first half, didn't he? He settled down a bit second half, obviously, but that was a tough old half for him against that boy, and they were using him. They were using him. They were using him white play as well, weren't they? So
yeah. Kind of wing backs, more or less. They had a lot of width, didn't they? But that number 7 Molyneux, I'd love him. I'd love him in a City shirt. I thought he was
too old, Steve. He's 28 now. He's been a lower league player all this.
Past it, is he?
Yeah, he's about 8 years too old for our team, isn't he? So no, but he's been around the lower leagues. I think, like Al said, some of their players had a real good day on Sun. Good fair dues to them. They would not go away with it. No. But I don't, I thought he had a good game. The boy had a good game, but I don't, 28, and he's a lower league player, I think, but he's made a lot of progress.
The days of Salmon Man, we would have gone and signed him for 550,000 that we got.
Yeah, absolutely. Gavin Gordon.
Exactly.
He's been on the show, Gavin. Now come there.
Yeah, no, I use
Al, it's funny. Two Peter Kitchen, two of Peter Kitchen's clubs, Leighton Orient and Doncaster Rovers. They've been two of the best sides against us, both giving us a really hard time, haven't they?
We'd mentioned it before. We'd mentioned it before the game. Guy who sits next to me said over the clash against Peter Kitchen's teams again. Yeah, I think he'd be happy.
Yeah, and he's gonna come on the show hopefully after the Orient game up there. So I got a question for you, Al. I hope Jeff's coming back. I know he's struggling a bit with his technology. I hope he's going to come back, and I'll ask the same to Gary. We can have a little chat about this. So Neil Warnock, right? When Neil Warnock was the manager, he'd say the fans don't give a tink, because he'd have been stronger than that, of course, being Neil Warnock, about how pretty the football is, as long as you win. So 1-0. Up we go. Would you rather the good old Neil Warnock days, or are you happier battling into a 99th minute winner against Doncaster and winning 4-3?
I think if you're playing rubbish football, then say that good football doesn't really matter. But when you experience watching good football, then don't you? You have a better afternoon. It is, and you can appreciate it. If you go down week in, week out, and you see that kind of football, and you get to expect that good football now. I think we go down there now. We've never played like this, have we? We've never, the way it's never hoofed, or very, very rarely. A player goes under pressure and he's looking for the short pass, playing triangles out the back. We've never really seen that sort of stuff. We've had panickers at the back at times, haven't we? And just belt it as far as you can. But I think we're in a fortunate position of where we are in the league, and also the pleasure of watching some good football. And I mentioned earlier that hopefully, if we've got to give a good account of ourselves tomorrow night, that will encourage more people who perhaps come every now and again to start coming regularly, or start bringing their kids regularly, and they'll realize how good the football is on their doorstep. You don't have to watch it on Sky TV to see a good game of football. And I'm sure anyone who's down there on the weekend, they got their money's worth.
Oh, they certainly did. Yeah, 100 minutes worth of it one as well. What about you, Gary? Do you get the Neil Warnock philosophy? As long as you're winning, no one really cares, or not?
Well, I suppose there's lots of ways to win a football match, isn't it? Really, and you can't knock him, because he was successful, wasn't he? And when you look at the side we had there, it was he built a very good side, didn't he? But it's a different era now. We got a lot of young local boys playing, and I think that gives. That's a little different, isn't it? We've never had so many young local boys in the same. I mean, we probably got 6, 7, 8 of them in the squad now. Probably 4 to 5 of them playing regularly every week. I think, as I said before, Steve, I think it's been a little bit forced upon us, because we got rid of a lot of high wage earners in the summer, and rightly so, because some of them were a waste of money. And we've gone down the young the young homegrown player route, partially forced on us, I think, because of economics. But I think we've got exactly the right man to coach young players. I think he's absolutely the right person to coach what we've got now at the club. And I think he's improved a lot when we're ready in 17, 18 games. I think you can see more confidence in them. And we're playing some great. It's so good to come out. After Saturday, another fantastic game, following on from the 4-3 against Orient, the 3-0 against Rotherham. We're scoring goals for fun. So it's a pleasure to go. Like Al said before, it's a pleasure to go down on a Saturday now, isn't it? And actually know you're going to see an attractive sort of attacking football, and probably a good few goals. So fingers crossed it continues. Fingers crossed it continues.
So Jeff, great shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
We were just talking about, I just playing the devil's advocate, really, but in the Neil Warnock days, he'd say nobody cares what kind of football City play, as long as you win. Win 1-0, you'll go happy. But we're saying it's kind of refreshing that we're scoring plenty of goals, and it's actually an exciting brand of football that we're playing.
Yeah, I think fans the world over, really, you go to a match, you can get absolutely battered, and you get a last-minute winner, and it's the greatest thing ever, isn't it? And you forget about what's gone before. But going back now to what Jerry just said, the football I'm watching now, win, lose or draw, I'm enjoying. I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the style of play, the fact that we've got academy players playing for the club now. Looked at that program. I was actually in hospitality on Saturday, and I was looking at the program, and we had 9 Welsh players in our squad. And we're seeing things we haven't seen for years. We're seeing best football I think since Dave Jones days.
Yeah.
And I think the style of play is important. Um, I loved it under Warnock because he came at the right time. We were really struggling. The old club was struggling, and he pulled us together. But I think any fan would love to see a 4-3 rather than a sort of dour 1-0.
1-0. Yeah.
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 So I'm really happy where it's
Yeah.
going.
I'm not
Um,
advocating for Neil Warnock. I just put that out there. Because we're
yeah,
still winning. A win's a win, I suppose is what he's saying.
I think Warnock was the right man at the right time. To be fair,
Yeah.
and a great manager. He makes. I don't know what he does, but he's just got his magic quality, and he makes average players into very good players. So you can't knock him, but Brian Barry Murphy, he's obviously from the Pep school of football, and it's really good to watch. I'm sure we'll all agree.
So 2 quick ones for you, Jeff. Then I move on to Al with firstly talking about the youngsters. Kean Ashford, who was taking a lot of abuse earlier in the season, getting a lot of stick. He's really come back and made his point, hasn't he? So and also on the same basis, running off the back of that, just to agree with you what you said. Do you remember Sam and Mam, the Celtic kids? They're here.
Yeah. I
Thoughts
remember
on Kean?
Summer Man well.
Yeah.
We were talking about him on Saturday, actually. Summer Man came to Aberdeen, and he was up in Commandment Legion. And he had, do you remember Leanne Gian?
Yes.
Yeah.
An outstanding prospect. And unfortunately, outside football, he had other interests. But, you could see what Sam wanted to do with young kids and young Welsh kids and the Celtic connection and everything.
Yeah.
But going back to Kean Ashford, didn't Brian Barry Murphy dropped him out the squad 2 or 3 games ago, I think it was. He wasn't even on the bench. And then he's come back, obviously with a point to prove, and he's been outstanding. He's man of the match on Saturday. That winning goal was entirely down to him, wasn't it? The way he cut back in, beat a couple of defenders, took the shot on last minute, and fair play to Joel Bagan there, finishing it off. But I think now he's got to be one of the first names on the team sheet. He's earned his place, to be fair, hasn't he?
Yeah, and Al, and obviously, I don't think you disagree with any of that. We were saying beforehand, there's lovely positivity, great comments coming in, by just showing some of them. Everyone's buzzing, lovely walking out after the game on the weekend, everyone's smiling and laughing and whatever. And it's that moment when you got a 4-3 right in the 99th minute, when you grab the person next to you you've never met in your life, you're throwing them around and all this stuff.
That exact same thing happened to me on Saturday. I usually have my son next to me. He couldn't make it, so I just hugged whoever I saw, and I'd probably never seen the guy ever before. So there we go.
I love all of that. But just going back to the Steve Thomas, by the way. Hi, Steve. How gutted I was when I saw you the day we got relegated. I made a point of giving him a hug that day because I thought if anyone didn't deserve what happened last season, it was Steve Thomas. The change since then is amazing, different attitude and a reset that was clearly needed. And again, going back to BBM, Al, I don't know if you saw that there was some footage of Craig Bellamy talking about him and saying how good he is for football in Wales.
Yeah,
he's starting to get noticed, isn't he?
Well, we've mentioned, I've seen a couple of interviews with him, and he's mentioned he's never known a club where there's such an affinity between a club and a nation, and we haven't always felt that, have we? We haven't always felt like the FAW's on our side and vice versa. But he buys into that. A really interesting thing as well. He said the Cardiff reminded him of Cork. He said he felt very much at home. Now, I hope that is the case, and he stays with us for years to come. But again, he's doing so well. Again, I can just see him moving on. I think he's such a good coach. He's quite clearly a good man manager. We were talking about Kean Ashford a moment ago. We dropped him against Northampton, and look what's happened subsequently. He just seems to be ticking all of those boxes at the moment, and I don't think he'll have. And usually for City fans, I don't think he'll have anyone have a bad word said against him at the moment, because we're usually quite happy to stick the boot in there someone, aren't we? But a universal favourite at the moment.
What's your thoughts on totally changing the topic? And I got a good question to put to the panel in a second. What's your thoughts on Chambers playing at the back, Al? Because a lot of people say he's more of a midfielder than a defender. What I noticed on the weekend personally was I kind of quite like the idea of it, and that he's almost like playing a sweeper role in behind, sort of tidying up. What do you think?
He had a heck of a good game at Stevenage. Played really, really well.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he's nobody's favourite at the moment. We always have that one, don't we? But he's nobody's favourite at the moment. But look, he can do. I'm sure off the pitch as well. Him and Callum Robinson. I'm sure that their influence. They keep talking about the youngsters, and we forget how young some of these kids are. You know, they'll be a good influence in the. You know, they've been and done it, haven't they? So they'd be a good influence on our kids, and I'm sure in the dressing room that they're playing a vital role. I'm sure they are.
Okay, we'll come on to tomorrow a little bit because if we look at the squad, we haven't got a massive squad left. We've got quite a few players missing tomorrow. I'll start with you, Al, and then I'll go around on this one. It's a good question from Martin Ryan, who plays at number 10 against Chelsea.
I really don't know, because I saw the question come in off air, and I was just trying to think what it was.
Sorry,
no, I don't know. No, I really don't know. I don't know how he's going to, are we going to stick with our normal approach to the game? Is he going to change things around?
Good question. I think he'll stick the same game. I think you just go for it because there's no, we're expected to lose. It's Chelsea. They're the third in the Premiership. They're one of the best teams in Europe. You got about 57,000 players. They should.
I think technically, if you like the two more defensive midfielders, I think technically Ryan Wintle, Alex Robertson, Dave Turnbull on their day can match these Premier League players for their technical ability. Yeah. I'll get laughed at by some saying that, because I know some people don't like Turnbull, but they can match them.
He's playing much better recently.
Yeah, I just think for their technical ability, there's nothing there to be fearful of. I mean, Salek as well. Look, he wants to be in the Premier League. He said that this is an opportunity, shop window for him in some respects. We always say Ruben plays well, doesn't he, at these sort of occasions, but he's live on TV and this sort of stuff. So I'd love to see Salek in particular, go for it.
So who's your number 10, Al?
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
Maybe politicians answer that. So Gary, what about? I know what I think, but I got a couple of options actually. What do you think, Gary?
Well, he might be forced to play Robinson there, but I don't think he's a number 10. I don't think it worked. He tried him as a number 10 in a previous game, didn't he? I think, and I don't think that will work. I think probably he'll go much of a muchness. I think, and the one thing is, I think they can name 9 subs, can't you? In this
It's 9, is it?
There's 9. So I think
we haven't got 9 subs.
With obviously with Ronan Kapaki not available, Kellerman obviously can't play, and Ruben unfortunately is out. Yeah. You're going to have to bring 3 in there. Plus, you probably you might have 1 or 2 of the under 21s actually on the bench tomorrow.
Have to be, yeah.
It probably have to be, because obviously we're really down to probably 14 or 15 players.
I'm making 15. Senior.
Yeah. So you might surprise us again. Going back to the thing you said earlier, Steve, about Chambers. I said a couple of weeks ago, last time I was on, I didn't think he was a centre half, but then he did have a decent game at Stevenage. But like we said, Stevenage I don't think they even tried to attack, did they? So it was the easiest night he could ever have.
For the first time, Gary's done that this season. He's played, I think it might be one of the cup games. He played a real skipper's role, might have been Wrexham, I can't remember.
Yeah, he did. Absolutely did. But I think when teams have a go at us, like fair dues to them, they had a go at us on Saturday.
Absolutely.
And I think when they have a go at us, when he gets down to one-on-ones and all that, he can be a bit vulnerable. And I think the defence in general had a poor game on Saturday, didn't they? But we won 4-3. It was a great game, and I'm knocking that. I thought it was a fantastic game. So I'm more than happy we won.
When we won, it was great. Yeah.
Oh, it was a fantastic game. We've got
to get promoted. We had a lovely season. As long as we're promoted, we're not promoted.
No. But it's entertaining, not like last year or the year before.
Actually, I just asked you this before I go to Jeff, Gary. I watched a bit of football on the weekend. I can't remember who it was. I think Arsenal were playing the Arsenal game. Yeah, and they got and Wolves. Wolves, the Doncaster Rovers of the Premiership at the moment. Yeah. So they nearly got a result, and then they got that late winner. I think it was an own goal actually. And then the commentator said, Well, that's what the champions do. See, they get the results. I thought that's an interesting analogy there for Cardiff City. You know.
Yeah. But Wolves scored all 3 goals, didn't they? Arsenal couldn't even score a goal, could they?
No, that's right.
The 2 goals for Arsenal were own goals only, but hey, but you know, like I said, I'm delighted the way it's going up to now, and fingers crossed we can keep it going. You know, it's a long, hard season, isn't it? So
I've got a couple of good responses on this number 10. Who plays number 10 for you tomorrow, Jeff?
For me, I go for Robinson. Have you seen Robinson's goal scoring record against Chelsea?
Yeah.
He's got a very good record against Chelsea.
A while, mate. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you could go Joel Caldwell at 10. I think we're going to need some experience. I agree. He's probably not a 10, but it's a free hit tomorrow, and you know he might just raise for the occasion. He's a good finisher. You know, he's a bit more of a fox in the box as well, and he can just get on the end of things. So I'd probably err towards Robinson. Going back just quickly to Chambers, I think outstanding professional. I personally met him before the Swansea game last year, and I was trying to get into him, you know, what the Swansea game meant to us. And he already knew, to be fair. And he said the boys were right up for it. And as you know, last season we were. That was one game we were right up for. I was at Stevenage on Tuesday, and I thought he was outstanding at Stevenage. You know, they did throw a lot of us in terms of eyeballs into the box, and he dealt with everything alongside Fish. And I just think he's a good influence in the dressing room. I didn't think he had a bad game on Saturday, to be fair. The one goal, the third goal, I thought was a push on Chambers, a blatant push, where he seemed to get out jumped, but he didn't do a lot wrong. His control of the ball, he brings the ball down so well and distributes it well. And personally, you know, I like Chambers, but going back to tomorrow, it's a free hit. I think whoever he picks is going to be right up for it. If I had to predict, I'd predict 3-1 Chelsea because they've got that quality. But the stadium's sold out. It's down to us a lot as well to make that intimidating tomorrow. And we owe Chelsea for what happened last time we played them, as we all know.
Yeah.
One of the worst decisions by an official I've ever seen at any level of football.
Yeah, it was shocking, wasn't it? I don't think it wasn't. Jeff, am I right? VAR didn't exist anywhere. Remember, did it?
VAR, we didn't. No, there's no VAR.
So I want to go somewhere else, which is quite important. That I want to mention something fairly important. Just say for myself, the number 10, I think it might well be Robinson, and you know, like the lucky charm, like Jeff said, maybe that. But also the other option is possibly he could possibly play Winton Colwell and play Robertson further up. That could also. For either one of the Robos. But the thing I wanted to mention, which I'll tell you the story about I'm doing on the weekend. I'll some other time. I'll leave that. But it was a good one. It involves smoke and flames. That's all I can say. But I was chatting to a guy before the game, and he said, "Your name's Steve?" He said, "Are you Steve Johnson?" And he knew me from the voice from the show, which talking about what we said earlier. We had this conversation, and we ended up talking about a certain man. And saying how great he was and how important he was to us as a person and as a player, and that's Don Murray. And I thought that the club, I thought they handled it quite nicely actually, and made me feel a bit emotional. You know, it was fairly easy to do with me, but Don Murray's a very special guy to me. Any thoughts on Don, Al?
I only caught him at the very, very, very end of his career. I started in 1975, so yes, it was right end. So my memories are more from what people tell me, to be perfectly frank, you know. But everyone, again, a universal love for him, isn't it? You know, no one ever got a bad word.
One of the greats.
Yeah, definitely. He came down from Hearts and he was young, 23 or something, and then once he settled in the area, you know, and in the area, and
stayed
so
ever
on.
since.
Yeah, the club. At last, you know, hopefully they get these things now, don't they? You know, he's not well. They paid tribute to him, because so often in the past they've just overlooked things, haven't they? Because we haven't had supporters involved at the club, and now they got to keep fostering that as well. They need to know, they need to have people on board who know about the club, so when things happen, they can feed into that. And hopefully that's beginning to happen, Steve.
And Gary, I don't know, not to be impolite, I don't know whether you remember Don Murray playing, or was he before your time?
No, it was right at my time. So my first game in '67, Steve. So
Same
Don
year
Murray
with
was playing, Brian Harris was playing, Bobby Ferguson was playing in Cardiff, Gary Bell came along after, and David Carver.
Wow.
You know, so all through that era.
Yeah.
You know, Don Murray was in the first team I ever saw down at Ninian Park, you know. So I remember him very well. You know, he played for several years while I was watching, going through that, and then he was in the team that nearly went up then, when in 70, 71, and Toshaka and Brian Clark and etc. So he's right up there alongside people like Phil Dwyer and Brian Clark and people like that, you know, who are that's what I look at. I mean, that's your sort of early heroes, isn't it? You know. So they're the sort of people I remember right from day one, you know. So Don Murray, certainly I remember him very well. So for a lot of seasons.
And what he's going through, obviously, Jeff, you know, I'm sure many of us on the panel and many listening to them and watching this will have a connection with. I've got a very strong connection with it, but it's such a horrible thing to go through. And obviously, our best wishes with Scott and Don's family, and very much so. Any comments on Don Murray, Jeff?
Yeah, I started watching City about 71, but I was a young lad. I can't really remember him playing that much.
That's
I was
oldies,
watching
Gary.
City. Yeah, I was sort of watching them regular from about 74, going home and away. So it was the tail end of his career. But like I'm saying, I was in hospitality on Saturday, and Gary Bell was there, Roger Gibbons was there, and they were talking about him. They played a real tribute to Don Murray, and of course, he featured on the front cover of the program. But one of the things that came over, I don't know if you heard this stat, Don Murray played 146 consecutive games for us, which is unbelievable. Can you imagine that at this era? It just wouldn't happen. So I think that says it all. A bluebird through and through. A bit like you, Steve. I've got a relative who suffers, from what Don is going through, or very similar. So every sympathy with the family. I know they're doing fundraising, and if anybody's got a program for Saturday, there's a QR code in there which takes you to the fundraising site to help Don, because he needs our help. And I agree. I think the club handled it very well. They do now, actually. Roger Gibbons was saying they have a past players association. So if any of the players are in trouble, there is an association there to help them out. And credit to the club, for doing that. But I think Don Murray has got to be right up there with Phil Dwyer as a real City Bluebird legend.
Yeah. And it was he was also nice, Sal, on the weekend that because it's Christmas, the Soul Bamba song coming out and whatever. And I love all of that. I really love all of that.
Yeah.
I met Don Murray once on the pitch, right? When I was just move on to general football stuff, but I met him once on the pitch when I was doing the PA down there, and when I was a kid, he was literally a giant. He was a giant, to me. And I met him on the pitch, and I was taller than he was. It's a funny thing, but in spirit. Wow, yeah, what a colossal player, and what a fantastic career, and just a magnificent Cardiff City player, and part of the legacy and history of the club. And when you look up, you see the banners to players gone by, etc. It's nice in a way that there's those tributes. Going back to tomorrow a bit, Al. As I say, we've got as far as I can work out, we've got like 15 senior players, and so we've got to somehow come up with another 4, I think, haven't we, to make it up to the squad of 20. Anyone you see coming in for it on the squad.
He'll draft in 4 15-year-olds the way he's going, won't he? Yeah, well, you just don't know. You know, he actually could. You know, he's very keen to get these kids involved, isn't he? To see what it's all about. It's strange, you know. We're talking this because when I see it, whenever the most recent games, whenever I see our bench, I always think, crikey, that looks so strong.
Yeah.
You know, and tactically, you know, you get someone normally like Isaac Davis, notwithstanding he started on the weekend, didn't he? But you know, I always think Isaac Davis comes on, and I look at the opposition fullback, and I think, oh, geez, you know, you wouldn't want to be him, would you? You know what I mean? You've been run ragged for 75 minutes, and then Isaac Davis comes on at you, you know. But what's impressed me this year is our other managers must look at our bench and think, crikey, what a luxury. But I didn't realise that we were down to. Yeah, we're not hardly down to bare bones, are we? But I didn't realise that we only had so few players.
We don't have to have 9 subs, I suppose.
No,
you know, we don't have to have 9. But looking at
we've had it this year where he didn't pick Matt Turner. Yeah.
That comment, by the way, from Peter, he's the guy who was sitting outside the coffee shop with me, and I was talking about my exciting day with Smoke and Flames, but you recognise my voice. I wasn't on fire at the time, by the way. But looking at the squad for tomorrow, players who might come into the picture, maybe Mafiko, maybe Nyakua, maybe Giles, maybe Parrott, those kind of players, perhaps.
Possibly. Troy Parrott. I mean, they rave about him as well, don't they? They really do. Some of the players.
He looks a good one. But on the screen there, that comment from Peter, he might come on the show one week. We'll see. We're in negotiations. Back 4, there's that one you said about Gary, you know, Carver, Murray, Harris, and Bell. Wow. What would they be worth, today?
Go back to what earlier to what Jeff said. You know, I've seen. I never watched Gary Bell play, but speaking to him is an experience up in the hospitality. You know, he's
lovely
an absolute gentleman, and he's always time to stop. And same with Roger Gibbons. You know, they do a fantastic job up there. David Giles is up there as well, and they do a fantastic job.
This is an interesting one, Gary. I don't know how these people manage to get into the chat, but they manage to do it. Sometimes people get into the chat and I have to remove them from the room. This is a really nice one. And I suppose this is kind of an interesting one, Gary. I mean, it's actually very timely because, you know, Chelsea are coming down to the backwater of Cardiff. You know, for us, it's a sellout, just, you know, but, you know, and it's a big crowd. But by League One standards, it certainly is. Right, even by Championship, it's a decent stadium, but it's interesting to see from the other fans' perspective, like all the Doncaster fans. Yeah, they were really lively, weren't they? And sorry, I got the wrong one. I've got to go to it. Give me a second. This one. Sorry, apologies. Port Vale fan here. I hope you finished champions, one of the best teams that's played at our stadium by far this season. And thinking about it from the point of view of the clubs who come to play at Cardiff at the moment, we can say this because we're top of the league. You know, for those clubs. Yeah, you know, we're pretty well the Birmingham, aren't we, of this season? You know, we're the big club that's come down, and they all want to do us, and they must, I think, relish their trip to Cardiff. You know, to come and see us at the Cardiff City Stadium is kind of special for the other clubs a bit. Would you say? I don't mean that patronising. Where'd you get that, Gary?
Yeah, well, you know, obviously that's something we got to battle against, isn't it? Really, we got to prove that we are a big club, really, in this league. You know, I mean, they're all going to try and knock us off the perch, aren't they? So, I was watching a vlog on the weekend that fan, they'd done fans blog on Saturday, and he's very complimentary about the stadium, except the catering, which he was abysmal. But he said, you know, it's obviously a Championship stadium, probably a Premiership stadium, you know, because obviously it is what it was, isn't it? You know, developed as it was, and how big the concourses were and everything, and how good the view were, you know, compared to some of the other stadiums in the, you know, like Stevenage and Northampton are tiny grounds in comparison, aren't they? Really, so, you know, it's but I hope that we can get this big ground back in the Championship as quick as possible. Really, that's what we need to do, isn't it? You know, so hopefully that we can continue our form. You know, But yeah, I'm sure it is a big look. Whatever people say, it still is a big ground, isn't it? When they come to a ground our size, you know, it must be great to play at a big stadium like that, you know. And you know, like when we were going to Premiership grounds, I suppose is a big. You know, when we were in the Premier League, it was a big thing for us to go to some of these grounds, wasn't it? So you know, but yeah, I mean, But I just hope we can get out of the league as soon as possible.
What I've been impressed with is some of a lot of teams coming to us. There's so many overseas players in the Premier League now, that what tends to have happened is a lot of the good British players haven't come down with their career further and further down the leagues. So there's a lot of players that we're coming up against. They might have been in the academies of the Premiership, and I think Doncaster showed at the weekend some very talented players. Bradford, some of their players were outstanding. So without being condescending to other teams, which I'm about to obviously be condescending to them, the standard with some of them has been much better than I was expecting. They've got some some of the on other teams. Really, really good. So the standard then of games is really good. But one thing I was going to mention, Steve, and the standard as you get lower and lower down the leagues, the referee had an absolute.
He was appalling, wasn't he?
Weekend.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Let me bring Jeff in on that one, because Jeff, what I thought was, I said to the guy next to me, who I manhandled and pushed around the stadium when we got the winner, that it was, he was like dangerously poor, because it was almost bound to kick off, and it did at the end. I hope that there's no repercussions from that. But he was just letting everything go, and there were challenges going on, which are unbelievable. Wouldn't book it anyway.
Yeah, I honestly thought, I said early on, he wasn't bringing any cards out, and there was a couple of quite bad challenges by Doncaster players, and there was a couple where they were pulling players back, and that's normally a yellow card, and he was letting it go. And he set his stall out, and I think the first booking was actually Robertson for us.
Yeah.
It was a mistimed challenge, and probably deserved a yellow card. But Isaac Davis, he played the advantage. To be fair, it was a good advantage when he set up the first goal. Isaac Davis was fouled 3 times in that move.
Yeah.
He was pulled back. He was pulled again, and just before he went in the area, he had another go at him. And he should have booked him, because although we got the advantage, we scored, he should have booked him without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think he's the worst ref we've had by any means, but he was very inconsistent. I think with Salek gets a bad deal off refs, With Salek, with this one, didn't seem too bad. He was prepared to let a bit go on both sides. Salek did get pulled up once or twice. But he was, he just let too much go, didn't he? And it didn't really, I never felt he really had any control of the game,
No. And it's Gary, I might be exaggerating it, but I did think this is going to kick off. It's probably be a red card. It might be a serious injury. The Robertson one, really, I mean, it was a 50-50 ball. They both went for it. I mean, I wasn't close up. Maybe he mistimed it. I don't know. I thought he could have booked either of them, but it does worry me a bit, particularly with some of the youngsters that we got. Because we've had a few injuries already. The referees are noticeably weaker, aren't they, at this level?
Well, I agree with Jeff. The tackle, it probably was worth the tackle, because he did go in a bit, the Robertson. But and I think probably that's why BBM possibly took him off shortly after, because he was one tackle away from getting sent off, and we could ill afford that then.
That was good management.
Yeah, but I thought there were a few tackles. I know the guy took Kellerman out, wouldn't he? We had a free kick on here. Kellerman went past him and he just clattered him, didn't he? And that was about 3 or 4 minutes after the Robertson tackle. Now, that was equally a yellow card, and he didn't book him. I think, I don't mind the ref letting a bit go, but if you're going to book a tackle for that, you've got to be consistent then in the tackles. You can't cherry pick which one you book and which one you don't book, I think so. But I agree with Jeff. I don't, I've seen worse there this year. I think there's been worse referees there, but and I suppose
they should get an award at the end of the season, the worst ref.
I've been banging on about this since last year. What's happened is, since the advent of VAR in the Premier League, the referees from lower down the pyramid all get promoted to do VAR, so they sit in the studio. So we're now getting inexperienced refs coming in. So the referee on Saturday was an American bloke, right? He'd only been refereeing in the UK for 18 months. His first championship game, I think, was last year, possibly. So this might have, he wouldn't have even done a full season because he's still in Championship or League One. So as a result, we're now getting inexperienced refs, and that's happening week on week on week, and that's never going to change now. The lower you go down the league, the more inexperienced refs you're now going to end up with. So we've got to get out. That's another reason we've got to League One.
He's supposed to be a good saxophonist, apparently, though. He played in Toy Story 4.
That would have been a good trick, wouldn't it? Instead of the whistle,
Yeah.
When the sub happened and the inevitable player came on, Al, who Nigel called Billy Blunt last week. Billy Sharp, 40 years old, came on, and I said to the guy next one, I said, get a tenner on. He's going to get the winner, But I think he was involved in that fracas at the end. Maybe the old head was winding up players, and I just hope, as I say, nothing comes out of that.
Billy Sharp's always involved.
Yeah,
Billy Sharp's always involved. That would have made his afternoon. I thought he was going to score when he came on because what Nigel said last week, didn't he? He said he's got a really, really good record against the City. So as soon as he came on, we were saying exactly the same thing. I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah, he always scores. Yeah. Jeff, with that kicking off the end, did you manage to see much of it? Just seemed to be going on all of a sudden. I couldn't really catch why.
Yeah, we in hospitality, a lot of people went back inside, and we stayed out because we wanted to applaud the effort and obviously the winning goal and everything. So we actually stayed out, clapping the side until they went down the tunnel. So I saw it kicking off. I didn't know what caused it. And at first, our players were outnumbered by Doncaster, and then some of our players ran in to sort of break it all up. But apparently, it was Chambers waving at the away fans that kicked it off. That's what I heard. Now, whether that's right or not, I don't know. But apparently, a couple of our players went over there, and Chambers waved at their fans, and a couple of Doncaster players took umbrage to it. I think it was handbags, to be honest. I think you can imagine how they felt conceding our last 99th minute, winner.
Gutting for them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to be honest. They probably deserved a draw.
I think, yeah.
But we kept going, and credit to us, we went for it. But they must have been devastated. So it wouldn't have taken too much for them to kick off, and certainly, Billy Sharp would, he would definitely be, he would be in there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and it's funny you should mention Chambers there, Gary, because obviously, because he's our senior player, so he's up for a bit of bat. And then, Al said, Billy Sharp would have responded accordingly, wouldn't he?
I think, going into the last 10 minutes of that game, it could have gone either way, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
It was up for grabs, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I think the only time we really got on top was, I think, when the 7 minutes came up, I think they had settled for a draw at that point. I think anyway, because they made a couple of, that's what added that extra minute or so on, wasn't they? They brought another sub on in the added on time. And I thought we created a few little things in that 7 minutes. We had a one shot wide by Willock. The one was whipped across the box by NG. It didn't quite go in. And we kept plugging away, didn't we? We're just plugging away and it paid off in the end, didn't it? So, they kept going. They kept going right to the death, didn't they? That's the thing.
I think that's what BBM was most delighted about. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, what I was going to say is it was quite funny because the 7 minutes came up, and if you remember, one of their players went down straight away.
Yeah,
and he was down for about a minute and a half. Yeah. And I've been reading comments from Doncaster fans saying they played until Cardiff wins, where they get 99 minutes from. Yeah. And to be fair, it was entirely down to their time wasting. And on 97 minutes, I actually said to my son, who was next to me, I said, should we go back inside? I said, because it's a draw, And he said, Dad, there's about another 2 minutes. He said, they've been time wasted. And he was right. And I was so glad we stayed out. Because when that goal went in, where we were, the row we were in, a few people had gone back inside. So we almost had an empty row. So there's three of us running like idiots up and down the road, jumping on one another. You can't be the last minute winner.
You can't do that in hospitality, Jeff.
We did.
Yeah, it was one of those games, Sal. Sorry, one of those games when you had to be there. Really, would you say, Al? Yeah, which is one of those great moments. I just thought it was fantastic, ecstatic. Crazy win.
I think only proper football fans understand. People who don't really go to football will say, "Yeah, but it was only Doncaster, right?" But if you're a proper football fan, you don't care who you're playing, right? That could have been anyone on the weekend. I wouldn't have felt any, but I say anyone, any other club bar them down the road, and that's okay. I just celebrate as I would.
How did they get on the weekend? I think did they do
well, I want to make a special. We always like to sort of go a little bit left field, Steve. So I just want a special mention to the women's team yesterday because they hadn't been well publicised.
Oh yeah, they did quite well, didn't they? At Swansea, I think.
Yeah, the Adrian Trophy. They beat Swansea 6-0 away yesterday. So many congratulations to them. Okay, so just want to get that bit in.
All right, it was 6. You said, wasn't it?
Yeah,
6-0. Was it 6-0? You said.
If it was on the video printer, if it was video printer, it would have been 6 with the word 6 after it, wouldn't
it? Yeah. I'll just ask you this one, Gary, from Lee Griffiths. Was it a pen on Salak at the end? Even if Bagan hadn't put it away, I didn't actually notice that. But did you?
Yeah. He got put one of the defenders grabbed all of his shirt and pulled him backwards as the ball. The keeper made parry the thing. But had Bagan put it into side netting, no, he probably wouldn't have given a penalty. So I don't think he would have come back and said, "I saw the pull on the shirt." But he definitely did get pulled by he grabbed him by the back of his shirt because he got in front of him, So, and I thought too that the third goal that was a great finish by Salak. That was from that ball coming in on from the cross.
Yeah,
because that was a real good finish. I thought he's missed easier chances on that this year, but that was a real good finish because he slid in, didn't he? And he directed it right in the corner. So that was a real good finish for Houston.
Just I want to cover a couple of quick things before we end. I'll ask you first, Al, because you're Mr. Glass half full, sometimes overfull. Brimming to the top. 12 points clear of Luton in 7th with a game in hand. It's all over, isn't it? We're there, aren't we?
No, but no. Look, we before the Stevenage game. So last week when we were on the show, we listed all the games in front of us, and we were saying, we'll make do with a point at Stevenage and a win against Doncaster. We've won both of those. Lincoln away now on the weekend. They're in third. Good team at home. Okay, so go there and get a draw. Exeter struggling, win that, another 4 points. Perhaps we'll get 6. And then all of a sudden, this momentum's building. I think it's going to be us, Bradford, and both then are going to be the 3.
Yeah. 3 out of 2. Yeah, I agree. I think so.
Yeah, there's, like we mentioned earlier, Stevenage, on the basis of what we've seen, I don't think they'll be there. Bradford, excellent team. Bolton, quietly going about their stuff. I think it'll be those 3 at the end, and it'll be 2 out of those 3. I'm not going to say it's going to be us because I don't want to jinx anything.
JBS, I'll go on.
No, I'm not going to say that.
Fair enough. Jeff, it's significant though, with the 12 points away from 7th, because we had this run. Albert and I were talking about it a couple of weeks ago. We had this run of home games coming up, so we've got to take advantage, and we are. Are we pulling away now?
We're on a good run. Obviously, we had a very poor second half against Blackpool and a poor result against Blackpool, and we just wondered what was going to happen after that, and we've really bounced back, and 5 wins on the trot. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but we're on schedule to get promoted. Let's be honest about it. 2 points a game gets you promoted.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Bolton, Bradford, I'm not sure about. I don't know if they've got enough strength in depth, and you listen to Bradford fans, they're a bit concerned, they'll be there or thereabouts, and I think they would probably are the 3 teams. If we get second place, I'll be happy. Obviously, I'd like to go up as champions, but we've got to get promoted. I just don't see us going on. I'm going to touch wood before I say yes. Going on a really bad run where we just lose a lot of games. I think we will continue to pick up points. I'm very happy where we are at the moment. And if you give me a choice of beating Chelsea tomorrow or 3 points with Lincoln, I take 3 points with Lincoln
100%.
because
Yeah.
we've got to get promoted. If we don't get promoted, we're going to lose 2, 3, maybe 4 players
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
summer.
Okay.
So it's that important to the club
Yeah.
that we get promoted. I won't say we will do it, but I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful.
Okay. Yeah. Well said, Jeff. I think you agree mostly with that, Al, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if we don't go up, we lose a fantastic goalkeeper for a start.
Yeah.
As well as the standard of these youngsters coming through that they will get picked up.
And maybe a manager as well. Al. Maybe a manager as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
He's done so well,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so well.
Yeah.
And I think with certainties to get in the playoffs, I don't think there's any way we cannot get in the playoffs. Really,
Got a game in hand with 12 points.
But you don't want to be involved in playoffs, Stuart. I agree with Jeff. If somebody said to me now you'll be runners up, I take that right now to avoid playoffs. They're a nightmare, and we all know about playoffs, don't we? And
Yeah.
they're awful. So I think if we can finish top two, but I agree, Bolton and Bradford are probably the two biggest dangers. Bolton are very good at home, aren't they? And they've lost at home yet, I think.
Yeah.
I'll ask you first, Gary. Do you see anyone else come in from the pack? I got a slight feeling, and other northern teams, Huddersfield might come back, or maybe Barnsley, these kind of sides. Anyone else you see coming out of the blue?
I think Huddersfield, there's a bit of I don't know.
They've got a decent squad.
Up there, and I think a lot of them want to get rid of their manager, don't they? They spent heavily in the summer, didn't they? They signed quite a few players in the summer, and I think they thought they'd be right, further up the league than they are.
Yeah,
and I think they want to get rid of someone. Want to get rid of Grant, and they say he's not up to it, and etc. So I don't know what's happening there really, but I think I think it is. I think the sort of teams in the 7 or 8, they were going to. I don't think anybody's going to come from halfway. I think it's 6 or 7 teams up there now, and I think that's the way it'll stay.
I think it might be. It's one of the. I think it's Barnsley got a 3 games in hand for something.
Yeah.
I still think they could even if they won the 3, they'd be right up there. Let's talk a little bit about the game tomorrow. It's a League Cup quarter-final, so you don't get many of them. I mean, obviously we made the final. We should have beaten Liverpool, but there you go. Al, isn't it fantastic as a League One side? They're looking at the final 8. There's 7 Premiership sides, no one in the Championship, and us. Yeah. So it is amazing, but it's a free kind of shout, and we get beaten, so we get beaten. Really, we've done well, haven't we?
Hell of an achievement to even be there. Beating Burnley away. I know they're struggling, but beating Burnley away. Wrexham, where we weren't even mentioned.
We were really good at Wrexham.
It was all Hollywood, isn't it? Really, and I love it. I love that. So it's great for us to get where we are. And it's a free hit tomorrow. I just hope that they just put basically a good performance in. It's an opportunity of a lifetime for some of these kids, and I'm sure we've got the right man at the helm to be able to tell them all of that. I don't think we'll get anywhere with it, but as we give it a good account of ourselves, then we're happy. I mentioned earlier, if we play well, that a lot of the extra 10,000 in the crowd will start coming back in the new year. Will start coming in the new year. Bring the kids along, because that's where we all started. Get the and then we can keep. We need to be hitting over 20,000 every week, I think, and we haven't done it since the Red game. So that it's a good opportunity to showcase ourselves to our own fans, I think, as well.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Gary, of course, it's that time of year. You could argue we're in the silly season. You could argue Christmas is the silly season, but we all know the silly season starts in January. But also, people have more money, towards mid end of January. And going back to what Al said, maybe that's when the crowds can push on. Hopefully, it does draw attention to the club, doesn't it? This match is on live national TV and all the rest of it. So hopefully, we can kick on and build from there.
Yeah, certainly. They tried their best, didn't they, against Doncaster? They give like 50% price off tickets, so the club are doing their best to encourage people to come along. So I think that's a positive thing as well. And people will always come. If we do keep the momentum up, people will always come back to support a winning team, won't they? So And I agree with Al tomorrow. As long as we can give us a good, a good performance tomorrow, and come out with some credit. I don't think we'll get a result. Obviously, I mean it's a world a million miles away than the sort of level of players they've got. I mean, but I hope we can just, like I said before, going on air. We're going to make a few bob from tomorrow's game. And I hope we can use the money wisely, in January. And I hope the manager will be allowed to use the money to get maybe, get a couple of loans in, or if that's the way we're going to go. Or, because I think it's essential, really, for him to be allowed, if he wants to bring in 2 or 3 players just to sort of beef up the squad a bit, and push us over the line, And I hope he's fully backed, because this manager has got to be backed in January.
Do you want to quickly respond, Gary, because we're running out of time? Do you want to quickly respond to Graham's comment, which is quite an interesting one, really? With so many youngsters, will a sellout crowd, I suppose, will our youngsters, could they be overawed? Would that suit Chelsea more?
I hope not. I hope they just go out and play with the freedom, just go out. I'm sure he'll just tell them to go out there, the manager, tomorrow, and just try and do what they've been doing, okay? As I agree with Alice, it's a free hit, isn't it? Nobody expects them to win anyway. As long as they can give themselves, give a good performance, I think everybody will be more than happy with that. The 10,000 who come along once a year, I'm not concerned with them. I'm on about the 17 or 18,000 people who support them week in, week out. As long as they can come out with credit, that'll be fine. That's good enough for me, I think.
Thank you, Gary. Do you want to same question? The two we just spin around on it quickly. Jeff, is there anything in that?
I just want to see our boys give a good performance tomorrow. As I've already said, I think Chelsea will win 3-1. I hope I'm wrong, but I'll make a good point. We've got a full house there tomorrow. We're gonna have some kids there who probably never watched Cardiff, and hopefully they're gonna go to say to their dad, Dad, I want to go back and watch them again. We've all got to start somewhere. So, instead of some of our fans calling them plastics, let's look at them as potential future supporters. And if that happens, they enjoy the game, they enjoy the football, and we pick up some new fans as a result. All well and good. And at the end of the day, it's 11 against 11. We know we've got some really good players there. Let's just go out, do our absolute best, and what will be. You never know. We could be in the semi-finals and promotion.
There's a song about that, Jeff.
Let's be positive.
Al, very briefly, do you want to respond to that and give us a maybe prediction?
Yeah, I think they'll put 3 on us. I think 3-0.
We'll score 4.
No, right. I think 3-0. Look, 3-0. I think if we can get a draw at Lincoln, I'll be really happy. And I keep saying this every week. We play Exeter. I want to put 4 or 5 on them. I said that about Doncaster, but no, I think we get 4 points in the next 2 league games, and a credible performance tomorrow night. Keep the score down to 3. I'm over the moon with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so and the Lincoln game, of course, Gary, we'd love a prediction for you on that one. But of course, it's kind of a 6-pointer. I think they're 3rd at the moment.
Yeah,
so 3 points behind us if they did manage to.
I would be more than happy with a draw, like Al said up there. Because we're mustn't get too in front of ourselves, and as long as we can beat Exeter, and then we got Stevenage again on the 29th at home, haven't we? So we got to obviously win that one, So if we can get 2 wins and a draw from them 3, I'd be delighted. That would be absolutely great.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff, a prediction for the Lincoln game?
Yeah, likewise, I'd be happy with a draw. I go my prediction. I go 2-2. I think we get a point there. You never know. They really come at us, and we might be able to open them up, and we might nick a win. Quite honestly, we nick a win there, I think it'll send out a statement to the whole league. But I'd be happy with a draw.
Fair enough. Well, thank you all very much. And I'm not going to say Happy Christmas. I'm not going to go there. But enjoy the match tomorrow. That's Christmas Day is tomorrow. We'll see what happens there. Thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers, lads.
Thank you.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop. when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the Spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.